ragworms, squash bugs, armyworms. What is next? Well, unfortunately, fall brings with it another crop of insects, including the fall webworm that we have here above us in our pecan tree. Now, a lot of times you see fall webworms on some of those nut trees like your pecans, your black walnuts, your hickories, and even persimmon trees. And if you think you're off the hook just because you don't have a nut tree, that is not the case. In fact, webworms can be found on over 88 different species across the U.S. Now, while they are unsightly, as they create that web that really houses the colony of caterpillars that are in there, and those caterpillars can be ferocious as they're continually devouring the foliage, they typically are just more of an aesthetic nuisance than they are a detriment to the tree. Even though those caterpillars are busy eating the foliage, they really aren't causing too much problem because the tree is in the process of actually shutting down, and a lot of times those leaves will be falling off the trees shortly. However, they do tend to be a problem on pecan production, especially as they can reduce the vigor in pecan trees. Now, if you are wanting to treat your fall webworms, you can use Bacillus thuringiensis, variety Karstaki, but you want to make sure to really open up that web in order to get that pesticide in there on those caterpillars. Now, if they're easy to reach, you can simply just reach up there and cut those webworms out of the tree as well, and therefore get rid of the colony that way. Now, the next fall insect to be looking out for is the twig girdler. And the telltale sign of the twig girdler is not necessarily the insect itself, but the twigs that you will often see littering your yard. So what happens is the twig girdler is a long-horned borer, and so it will bore in the ends of twigs and leave its larvae in there. Now, in order to create a better habitat for that larva to develop in, it girdles the twig. And so you'll see oftentimes the twigs that have fallen, they look like they've been run through a pencil sharpener or simply have been cut off. Now, while it doesn't typically cut the branch off, what happens is in the fall we have more winds, and so those weak branches start falling. Now again, the twig girdler often goes after a lot of those nut trees, but you will find it on other trees such as oaks and elms. Again, it's more of an aesthetic problem and a nuisance having all of those twigs to have to mow over than it really is any detriment to your tree. It also can be a problem aesthetically on especially ornamental trees. Now, if you want to reduce the population, the best way to do that is simply by picking up any of those broken twigs that you find on your yard and removing them, because they do overwinter that next year's population of larvae. So by removing those twigs that have fallen, you're getting rid of the larvae for next year. And the next thing to keep in mind for September, while it may not feel like it right now, we have made it through the heat of the summer. So our mild temperatures are soon approaching. Now take advantage of those mild temperatures by getting a few last-minute cool season short crops in the ground, such as beet, spinach, and lettuce.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.